Welcome, y'all. This is Sarah Bingham with Fast Food Healing. And I got this great person who I met a long time ago, actually, Denicia Hilton. She's an acupuncturist, and she's got a whole lot more to offer. So I'm going to read right from her website. I am Denicia Hilton, saving uteruses and making babies as holistic period and fertility strategist. Doctor of Oriental Medicine, certified in Oriental Reproductive Medicine, podcast host, and speaker. This woman is rocking it. She's truly flowing. All right. So the other thing she says on her website is, I've partnered with women struggling with menstrual cycle disorders and diminished fertility to feel empowered in learning more about herself, learning what she needs, and giving herself what she needs to have a better relationship with herself and cycle, and to have the healthy baby she once only dreamed about. It would be an honor to partner and help you too. So welcome, welcome, Denicia Hilton. I'm just, when I spoke to you and I said, well, so what should we talk about? And you said, well, let's talk about period bypassing. I went, say that again. So Denicia, talk to us. The theme today is period bypassing, but now first we have to define it. So welcome.
Yeah. Hi, thank you so much. I was like trying to stifle laughs because she's reading this and your delivery is amazing. So
yeah, I have fun.
Yeah. Thanks, Sarah, for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So with period bypassing, it's like in its simplest terms, it's where we are neglecting and undervaluing holistic menstrual health education. And so we're doing so for the sake of one's own comfort, convenience, and control. And so while it seems like it is a very broad concept, it's broad because we see it, or I see it, happening in all of these different places, all of these different industries, and affecting different people. And it's just that you're not recognizing that that's what's happening. So, we can, obviously, we're going to go into more detail into that. But when we are period bypassing other people, or we're doing it to ourselves, what's happening is that we're creating this rift within women. So in this rift, we're saying, no, you don't really need to know about yourself holistically, involving the menstrual cycle. You don't really need to embrace that part of you. Matter of fact, we'll just shut it down. You don't really, we'll just remove, you're having these issues, we'll just remove the uterus, or we'll just, here, take this pill, we'll just stop it, because you don't even need to actually have a menstrual cycle every month. Or, hey, you're having struggles with fertility, we'll just go ahead and put you through a bunch of fertility treatment cycles, and then hopefully eventually something sticks. When you do that, what happens then is now you have these women that are not embracing who they are. So their confidence in themselves has diminished. Their self-esteem has diminished. Clearly, body awareness has diminished. And when that happens, the line of healthy boundaries, and then also identifying what you need to support yourself, is massively blurred.
Wow.
And so then what happens with that? That means then she's just going to walk around accepting whatever it is that somebody's telling her, right? And it may or may not support her, because she doesn't even know, because she's so not aware of herself and embracing who she really is in her totality, that she will just accept whatever it is that anybody says or does to her,
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that I think about when you're talking about holistic and a real concept of our whole selves, we have been raised in with a scientific orientation of partitioning. That you have a uterus and that's this one little box within your body kind of thing, as opposed to you are a whole woman. And if you go back to ancestral knowledge, rhythm, and and ritual, when a woman begins to bleed, that's a huge ritual in most ancestral cultures, and we've just totally thrown that out. So it's like, oh, I'm bleeding. Oh well.
Oh, yeah.
And
Well,
so,
because think about it, like in this like in our culture, and which matches many others as well, is that some are not even taught about it, so they're not even aware that this is even going to happen, right? And then two, because it's been happening at younger ages. What's happening is you have all of these fearful parents who are like, no, not my baby, not, she's only 9, she's only 10, that's my baby, no, because, so now out of fear, and then because of your own discomfort, you're now going to say, okay, yeah, sure, doc, go ahead and put her on these hormone suppressants.
well,
And then when you do that, they probably didn't even inform you that it's not like these hormone suppressants are suppressing a reproductive or suppressing the menstrual cycle. They're not telling you that those hormones that are sex hormones are also, they're interconnected to all of these other hormones that helps the whole system function. So are they telling you, sure, we'll go ahead and do that at this young age, but be on the lookout for her teeth. Her teeth you might start getting cavities, they might start coming out, or actually be aware that she might get bone fractures when she's doing her gymnastics because her bones are weakening as they're growing. Like, wow. So it's, be aware that she might experience anxiety and depression more because of this. So, but it all started with, oh, not my baby, So it's that, like, when you move into embracing it like those other cultures, like it is a start of a different phase. Yes. And you celebrate that, right? Yes. Just because you start your menstrual cycle does not mean automatically like, oh, she could pop this baby and go and have sex. Like, no, that's part of their fear as well, is if I talk about the menstrual cycle, I got to talk about sex with her. No, you don't. you really don't. But at least embrace it, because the introduction, like that first introduction that she has and that we all have, sets the tone for not only the menstrual cycle, but also in ourselves. It sets the tone of just what is it that we're willing to accept, and what is it that we're willing to embrace about ourselves. And you're encouraging her to embrace all of who she is, especially going into those ages where they're going to go, like, into middle school and into high school, peak times of comparison. But what you're saying is, I'm going to teach you to embrace who you are, because your cycle is unique. You are unique. And it's that expression of you that you want to stay rooted in, despite what social media says, despite what some group says. Like, you stay rooted in who you are, and you see yourself just shining. And then, like, that is how we can help diminish those times of disharmony. And now I'm bringing in Eastern medicine here, where that internal conflict is where we can create these forms of stagnation. We can create inflammatory processes simply by creating these internal conflicts.
Oh, okay. So by a young woman feeling conflictual around her womanhood, you're setting up in sort of metabolic imbalances as well, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, just but the other thing, Denisha, that we haven't spoken about is, when I was young, a 9-year-old getting her period was bizarre. There was like one kid in the whole school, and that is no longer the case. We've got lots of 8 and 9-year-olds menstruating, correct? And so what is that all about?
I think it's a bunch of things. It's a bunch of things happening. And one of the things that I think about is where where you're looking at and assessing where mom and dad were health-wise, because that is what showed up in the egg and the sperm that created her. So then that is a part of what in Eastern medicine would be the constitution, is what we would call it. So what predisposed conditions were already passed down, right? And what made that up as far as the quality of the egg and the sperm was even exposure to toxins, right? That they each may have had. Now, those toxins can be physical toxins in the sense of foods or medications, what's in the water, right? But it can even be ancestral toxins. It can even be emotional toxins, all of what your body's still processing. Like emotions are stored in our bodies. It's a cellular memory, right? Guess what? Egg and sperm is their cells. So what then has also been kind of programmed in that, in those pieces to make up who she is and who we are. So now you take that, and then now during pregnancy, what is happening during pregnancy? Like, were you under chronic stress where your fight or flight was so on board, like through your pregnancy, without realizing that those same chemicals are being passed through the placenta? So now you have a baby that's constantly in a fight or flight neurochemically, right? So then now baby's born, and then neurochemically is kind of always on edge. Okay, so now here, this is when we bring in cortisol. So now are you telling me that cortisol is not functioning properly? It's not maintaining a healthy homeostasis, right? Because we're supposed to have it. It's supposed to help us. It's just when it's in excess. But then it's now understanding that the cortisol has a link to our sex hormones as well. So,
Exactly.
So it's like, so when I say that there's all these factors, there really are. And so do you want to go into breastfeeding? Like, yeah, what was mom taking in that was also passed in milk?
Well, exactly. But back to cortisol. Cortisol is what we secrete when we're under a huge amount of stress. The other thing that as a nutritionist I think about all the time is how we're feeding our animals, hormones that they're being, and that is a huge piece. And I think that as we have done that to our animals, the rate of young girls getting their period has gone way up. So commercial meat, I think, is and dairy, and meat and dairy have both gone up hugely as far as intake.
But then also think about chemicals that are placed on the skin, and especially for a girl, which
affect your hormones. They're estrogen, right?
You can go through the list. Do you have your shampoos? Do you need a deep conditioner? Do you have your regular conditioner? Do you have a leave-in conditioner? Where's your gel? What's your pomade? Do you have foundation? Oh, what about your eyeliner, mascara, lotion?
Baby every day. What are you rubbing on your baby every day? Baby lotion, baby all are loaded.
Exactly. And then what are they breathing in? Oh, we don't want to smell baby poop, so we're going to do this plug-in. And so all of those interplay. We are a part of our environment. So it goes back to, it goes back to that dissociation, right? So not only is it that a dissociation within ourselves, it's a dissociation of honoring and respecting our environment. So people are realizing and taking in that you are interplaying with your environment. So you want to set up your environment to be conducive to what it is that you would actually like to experience in your physical body as well.
It's an ecosystem.
Yes.
We're not separate from anything.
Not at all.
We have got to, you better love on what's in your environment, because it's taken us down. We've done, they've done studies on infants. On average, the mother's cord blood has over 228 toxins in it. We are no longer giving birth to pristine babies. We're starting off with a huge toxic load, and mothers don't realize that. And so we have got to stop putting food in our basket that represents that kind of attitude. So you got to leave on the shelf the processed food. You got to leave on the shelf the toxic skin stuff. all that good stuff, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then recognize that it's, it's perfectly okay to ask for research and ask for certain products that are going to help you and your baby. Like, certain diapers are chock full of chemicals and fragrances and synthetics and whatnot. And if people, by golly, are asking for your list, put on there the ones that are actually going to be more helpful to you and to the baby, because, and this goes back to that healthy boundaries, right? It goes back to healthy boundaries of actually asking for what it is that you desire. And so we have this culture of, well, you can't really ask. You should just be happy with what you get. And it's like, not necessarily, like, I don't buy into that, And I was actually listening to Brene Brown today, and something stuck out to me. And like what she was saying in her research about, like, finding that there was these people like with compassion, like the ones who had the most compassion for people. And she was saying that she just really wanted to dig into, like, what was it about them that they could have this strong compassion for other people. And she said what it was that linked them together was actually having boundaries. And it's the and I was sitting there going, oh my gosh, because of course I'm talking about, like, with period bypassing and the steps of how you work through that. And then one of the big things that I point out is boundaries, because you begin to establish those boundaries. You know what it is that you want. And it's like, most women are very compassionate. You want to help. But then it's the boundaries that are healthy that help determine how it is that you can be that for somebody else and still be who you are out of your own space and represent in a healthy way, right?
Rather than blend in with the other person, be codependent, any of that good stuff.
Exactly.
Okay. So I'm a mother of a 7-year-old, 8-year-old, and I know her period's coming at some point. What's the best way to prepare her and me for this?
Really start looking at the way that you are associating to your own cycle. So, and paying attention to your own behaviors. So, are you shopping for your supplies, your products without her? Are you doing that intentionally, or were you doing it unconsciously? Like, so are there ways that you're hiding this from her? Have you started incorporating, like, teaching about household tasks and whatnot? So then are you hiding the underwear that might have the stains on them from her? Where is it that you yourself might actually be period bypassing yourself? Those are examples. Okay. And then, because that means then that you're saying non-verbally, I'm hiding this part of me. Right. And you've already started teaching her that without realizing it.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of stuff around. It's dirty, it's yucky, it's, there's all that stuff associated with it.
Yeah. So when you go to that, when you go to answer your question, like, well, how do you start? Go to yourself first, because you got to clear that out. You have to clear that programming and those belief systems out, because that's the only way that I feel like you can become open then to what are the possibilities that she could experience with our cycle. And so then, well,
it is, because Denicia has for y'all, if you don't know, she has trademarked period bypassing. Okay, that is a trademarked phrase, which I think is great. And I just think it's great that you're standing on a big old platform and saying, look, women, let's really pay attention to what we've begun to believe about ourselves, about our periods, about, all of that, about our uterus, about the whole bit. And I really appreciate it. We're going to have you back, because I know there's about a bazillion other things that you and I can talk about. But I just want to shout out that Denisia's business is located in Palm Harbor. She is an acupuncturist, and as you all heard, a major advocate for women. And how do they get a hold of you, Denicia?
Yeah, so you can actually go to DenisiaHilton.com. And so that's DENICEA Hilton.com. While I do actually do the acupuncture and Oriental medicine locally, I actually do work with women and with girls in the form of virtual consultations as well as my mentorship. So there's that whole virtual aspect that if you're like, crap on a biscuit, I'm not there, but I do want to know more about my cycle and what I can do. And so I can definitely still be there for you as you transition into embracing the holistic menstrual health.
That is wonderful. Yay, women, rise up, you know, and yeah.
It's my period dance.
On your side, yeah, that's your women's side. You go, girl. So this is wonderful, and we're going to get Denisia back, but I thank you, Denisia, and y'all have a great day.
Thank you.